let's get to some headlines. And we'll start, and I'm glad you're here to break this down. We're going to start with, I think, probably the biggest story from last week in the high school football world having to do with Jaydon Blue. Jaydon Blue is the Jaydon. The problem is he's spelled it the same way as Jaydon McCullough.
Yeah.
At Plano East.
I believe it's Jaydon Blue.
I believe so.
I believe so too.
Yeah, that's what
if
Powers
it's not,
says.
we're sorry, Mr.
Okay.
Blue.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Blue.
That's what Powers said, so blame it on our mountain.
Hashtag blame Powers.
Jaydon Blue is the number 12 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. He is the running back from Klein, Cain. He's the number 1 ranked running back in the class of 2022, according to Dave Gamble's Texas Football and TexasBall.com/recruiting. He is a Texas commit. He is a star.
Great player. Saw him last year. He's a great player.
He's a great player, okay? And that is why it was a bit of a seismic move when he announced on Twitter last week that he would be foregoing his senior season at Klein, Cain in order to prepare for the next level. I'll read a snippet from his he did the did he do the Notes app thing? He did the Notes app.
Yeah, he did the Notes app thing. The kids and their Notes app.
Quote, "This has been a very difficult decision for my family and I. Football is a brutal sport, and the wear and tear associated with the running back position is undeniable. I plan to take this time to focus on my academics while enhancing my off-the-field training and rehab regimen. This is a strategic and conscious effort to ensure that I am prepared to perform at an elite level at the collegiate ranks during the 2022 season. This is an incremental step in hopes of one day fulfilling my NFL dreams." It goes on, but that's the basic gist of it. So Jaydon Blue will not play for Klein Cain in 2021.
As of now.
As of now.
Well, I mean, I think there's always I don't think the door is 100% closed on him playing his senior year. Pickle and I talked to a couple of folks at the 7-on-7 last week, and got some things off the record that we're not going to talk about specifically on the air, but I don't think the door is 100% closed.
So you think there will at least be an effort to get him to convince him otherwise?
Yeah, I mean,
which makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think the door is 100% closed. I mean, I think it's fair to say that something's gone awry here. With some relationships in Jaydon's life, with maybe some folks who are in charge there at Klein Cain. I think it's something's happened, and so I think it's fair to say that the decision was made, I think, on his part to take off this year. But there's always a chance that those relationships can be repaired. That maybe he has a change of heart and those kinds of things. So I don't think the door is 100% closed there.
So.
And he's an 18-year-old kid.
I mean,
I'm a 17, 18-year-old kid.
Things can always change. Sure. Yeah, it's not selfishly, I'd like to see him play.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a great player. Why wouldn't we want to watch him play? But at the same token, we're not directly in, it's his life, it's his decision, it's his parents and his family. If he's talking to his parents and the people close to him, and if it's a decision that he feels like is best for him, then who are we to question that?
Certainly.
I mean, that's something that if his parents and he feels like that's what's best for him in his future, then all you can do is just wish him the best.
Now there are, and I agree with you. I think that this is a loss for Texas high school football because obviously we want the best players in the state playing on the field. I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. With that said, I will say this: I think he makes an interesting point, which is as a running back. That is a car crash position. Like between their offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and linebackers. Those are car crash positions where you are taking big hits more or less every single play.
Especially when you're the star player on a team,
and
too. That's a lot of carries.
And you've got all eyes on you,
Yes.
and the defenses are going to be geared up to slow them down. So, and look at how running back's been devalued at the NFL level,
yes.
and the devaluing of the running back position at that level. You don't think high school kids who play running back see that?
They are, yeah. I would say that running backs, especially once you get up to the upper levels, college and pro, they are viewed more or less as kind of disposable. You know what I mean? That you get as much tread on those tires as you can, and then they go.
You go find the next one.
Yes,
it's literally like car tires is the best way to put it.
Like the days of LaDainian Tomlinson are gone or going.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have one or two guys who have these lengthy 10-year careers, the Adrian Petersons, but those are 1 in a million.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing, I think he makes an interesting point. There's also another aspect of this that I think is worth mentioning, which is from a recruiting perspective, he has essentially nothing else to gain from playing as a senior. From a recruiting perspective.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. He is. We mentioned he's the number 12 prospect in Texas football at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. He is a 4-star. He's pretty much consensus 4-star running back. There is not a whole lot of room for him to improve. He's committed to Texas.
They're not going to drop him.
They're not going to drop
him.
him.
He's too good. And they, do I think, as far as that goes, do I think the Texas coaches like the decision? No, I don't think they like it. I think they'd probably rather him play.
Yes.
Just from a relationship standpoint with the high school coaches and those kinds of things.
I doubt this came from Texas.
No, I think Texas is probably of the opinion we're going to let him. It's his decision. It's his family's decision. We're going to let them make that decision. But they're not going to drop him. He's too good. He's too talented.
Especially with a brand new coach coming in, you don't drop
all the calls. I know
yeah.
Texas message boards have been filled with people saying that Texas should drop him. No, it's not happening.
No,
he's too good. He's too talented.
Okay.
He's from all indications, he's a good kid. He's got
a 3.8 GPA.
Yeah, 3.8 GPA. I mean, he's taking care of his business in the classroom. There's no reason.
So I think there's one more side to this saga, and that is
the inevitable freak out.
Yes. I think that there is a large, I won't say large. There is a portion of the Texas high school football world who is going to wonder, is this opening the door to this becoming a huge trend, and this becoming suddenly players and blue chippers like this are not going to play their senior year. My initial reaction is no. My initial reaction whenever the idea is that the sky is falling is that it's not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I think Jaydon Blue is a pretty unique case in the sense that he plays a high impact position. He is already at the very top of his recruitment ceiling, more or less. He can't be the number 0 ranked running back in Texas. He's the number 1 ranked running back in Texas. There's nothing he can gain from that. I think that this is, and furthermore, obviously, there's, the conversations he's had with his family. He does not. He feels that it is more important for him to prepare for college than it is for him to play as a senior in high school, and that is his prerogative to feel that way.
Yeah.
I think that is a certain set of circumstances that is pretty rare, and I don't think that this is going to become this huge trend. My initial reaction was it is compared to the freak out over when IMG Academy opened. When IMG Academy in Florida opened, there was a freak out, especially among Texas high school football coaches, that, oh my gosh, this is the end. They're going to come and they're going to pluck all the best players from Texas. And in the end, how many players from Texas go to IMG Academy every year?
The last couple of years, I don't think there's been
0 like 2.
Yeah.
0 to 2.
I mean, the kid from Tompkins was supposed to go there last year, but then didn't. He came back because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I mean, there was an offensive lineman from Allen that went there, and he came back. I guess, is Kellen Mond the last real high profile?
I would say so. It is that, to me, strikes me as the comparison.
The parallel there.
The parallel is the freak out's going to be big. I think it's unnecessarily big because there may be 2 players who do this every year. But it's not going to be like the whole top 40 at TexasFootball.com/recruiting is going to opt out of their senior season. I just think that this is a unique circumstance for Jaydon Blue that he feels this is the right decision for him.
A good point that was just brought up, Daniel Agnew brought this up, that Cain has a lesser chance of winning state. And it's one of those things I think that you could look at it in that way, too, if you want to talk about. Let's throw out Cade Klubnik. He has a chance to go for another one. He's in line to be the next Trevor Lawrence. That kid's not stepping off because he's got another chance to win state.
I think
so
it's much. I think you're much less likely to see this at a place like Katy or South Lake Carroll or
like some
Aledo.
Of the big names.
Yeah, I think you're a lot more likely to see it at a program like Cain, which is good. But number one, there's not it's a newer program, so there's not that tradition there. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing as well. So there's a lot of factors that play into it. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure the door's completely closed.
I agree.
And the other thing about this is, you mentioned it. They are a young program. They're a new program. there, and we've talked about all these things that we know. There's also a lot that we don't. Like we have to sit here and be humble enough to say there's a lot of stuff we don't know going on behind the scenes that may have informed this decision for Jaydon.
He's a human, and
Yeah.
much like more under that, he's still a kid technically. You know, like
I make the comparison when we talk about high school coaching changes, which we'll talk about in a moment, is that sometimes these coaching changes come about and you go, why in the world would he do that? And then like you go and you talk with the coach and it turns out he has like a perfectly good reason of like, hey, I have a lake house out there and I really want to go coach there.
Yeah, there's
You know
always
what I mean?
something lying beneath the surface.
Yes.
Some other, if you just, and he's going to be careful with his words and what he comments publicly to the media because it's such a high profile thing, as he should. But I mean, I bet if the folks that know the situation probably know, there's probably a really good reason for it. And so again, it's disappointing because we want to watch him play, but in the end, if him and his family feel like it's the best decision for them, then people make the best decisions for them and their family in all walks of life. Just because he's a kid, if his parents support him, then you have to just kind of live with it.
And I also just don't think that this is some paradigm shifting move that suddenly you're going to see all these players opt out. I just don't think. My read on the situation is that this is a special circumstance for this individual player. Could this special circumstance happen for other players? Yeah, absolutely. It could always happen. But I will say that I don't think that this is some sort of harbinger of doom that all of a sudden we're going to have all these players opting out.
I just view it like an injury. I mean, he's not playing this year, so it's next man up.
That happens every year.
There's always good players that we lose for the entire year because of an injury or something. I just view it kind of like that.
Absolutely.
So
okay. So there's the Jaydon Blue situation. Let's move on to some other headlines, including we'll talk some coaching changes.
Still some happening.
We're going to need y'all to quit by Friday.
It's May 24th. We send the magazine to press on Friday, you jerks.
Sorry, they can happen. All the coaching changes can happen after Friday because then we have plausible deniability.
Yeah.
That's wrong. Well, it happened
This
after
is
Friday.
on y'all.
And so Matt Stepp broke the news on Twitter this morning that we have a pretty high-profile opening down near the Houston area.
Yeah. Tom Westerberg, Barbers Hill, is resigning, and he pending board approval tonight with Hayes Consolidated is going to be the athletic director there in Hayes Consolidated ISD. So it's a good move for him. I think people look at it, and I have a couple people on Twitter saying, the Barbers Hill experiment failed. They didn't win a state title. I don't think any rational football person expected Tom Westerberg to win state championships at Barbers Hill. But he went 38-17 in 5 years there.
Wow.
It's a pretty good run at Barbers Hill. So, this is a good move for him. He gets to be the athletic director of a 3 high school ISD there south of Austin. And his son just left and became the head coach at White House. So I think he felt like this was a good time to try to move on. The timing of it is interesting because it's so late. But I've been told about sources pretty close to the situation that Barbers Hill's probably going to look outside for their hire.
They're going to open it up.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting because typically when you see jobs open up at the end of May, the smart money is almost always on an internal hire. But from what I've been told, this hire, the smart money is going to be on an outside hire.
Wow.
Which could mean more late movement because I can tell you Barbers Hill, 1 school ISD in the Houston area, great facilities. They've got an indoor facility. That's going to be a highly coveted job that pays well too.
It does.
Those facilities down there are amazing.
Yeah. So
it's a good job. It's a really good job right now, and so that's one thing that's open. It is now, I believe, one of. Have we updated this with the site yet?
We're over 200 at this point.
Yeah, it's on the site.
Yeah.
It should be.
So they're now that becomes one of 23 jobs that are still open here on May 24th. I mean, 23 jobs. Now look, so they range. In profile, like for example, look, Mansfield Legacy's still open.
Yeah,
Mansfield Legacy's a good gig. You know what I mean? They range in those. I think San Antonio Wagner's a big time job there at Judson ISD. So there's
Monday. It's big school board meeting season tonight. So
do you anticipate? Here's a dumb question. You anticipate a fair number of a fair amount of news tonight?
Yeah, I know Edgewood's hiring tonight. They're hiring a defensive coordinator from nearby, a larger school nearby. Who has head coaching experience in South Texas. So there's your step tease there on that one.
There you go.
I believe Irvin MacArthur should be naming their guy at any moment. I think today or tomorrow Irvin MacArthur will have their head coach. So there's a few. Carrizo Springs hired on Thursday night, I believe. So a few of these jobs are – you'll see if several fill tonight. And we'll probably be under 20 by the end of the week.
You can find all the coaching changes at texasfootball.com. Finally, let's round it all out with some
Presented by North Texas Honda dealers.
Thank
That's
you.
right. Helpful Honda dealers.
Presented by our friends there.
Go buy a Civic or an Accord. They're
Yes.
Great
cars.
Yes.
Great cars.
They hold their. This is dad talk here. I told my daughters this. You should get a Honda Civic or a Honda Accord because they hold their value really well.
That is dad talk.
Honda,
There you
the check.
go.
Honda, send the check to cash,
That's-
please. Make it out to cash. Thank you, Honda.
You're not there at that dad talk
No,
yet.
oh
Or
my God.
you're still at
No,
Girl
he's-
Power Books.
I'm
Yeah.
still
So
Girl
we'll get
Power
there.
Books and
Yeah.
being 2. Okay, finally, there was 7-on-7 action this weekend. This was the second big week of 7-on-7 SQTs, the third week overall. You guys were out in Grapevine, right? That was one of the big boys.
Yeah, Grapevine
Mhm.
/ South Lake. Yeah, 2014
24
tournament.
teams.
Yeah, we had Garland look really good. I saw Garland. The Biddle kid, I think he's committed to OU. Chance Biddle looked really good.
that's
Jordan
a-
Hudson.
That's a team we've heard coaches mention to
Yeah.
us and say, keep an eye on the Owls this year.
Garland looked really good. They blew through everyone over there. South Lake Carroll qualified. Quinn Ewers was doing Quinn Ewers things.
No way.
It looked unfair.
Yeah, and then Flower Mound Marcus qualified. They had that kid who moved in from Washington, Cole Welliver, I think is his name. Big, tall kid. He's a 2024 kid. He's 6'6", good arm, and they won over at Colleyville Heritage. They qualified. It was a good, solid tournament, though.
Down at the Lake Travis SQT, Austin Westlake is
Oh,
through.
shocking.
Wow.
35-25.
Wow.
That's groundbreaking news
Yeah.
right there.
Westlake and Hutto.
And
Hutto.
also, shout out
Oh, yeah.
to
Coach LaPlante.
to the Hippos. They
Yeah.
qualify. They beat Austin Vandergriff in the qualifying tournament out in Midland, out in West Texas. El Paso Eastlake's coming to town.
Yeah.
El
The El Paso schools did great out there.
Yeah.
The two El Paso schools both won their pools.
Yeah, El Paso Eastlake beat El Paso Eastwood in overtime. Although, if we know Julio Lopez, this will not be the last SQT they're playing in.
No, they're going to Lubbock this week.
Are they?
Yes. Yeah.
That was to reset for people. This was 4 years ago or something like that. We went out to 3 or 4 years ago. We went out to an SQT in Hearst at LD Bell, and Julio Lopez and El Paso Eastwood are like, "What are you doing here?"
One year they went to Tyler.
God Almighty!
They went to
Whoa.
Tyler one year. Yeah.
They want to play SQT.
They love playing. They're hosting in 2 weeks. They get to host one, so they want
Oh,
to
there
travel.
you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Midland Legacy is through. Midland
Yes.
Legacy beat Lubbock High in the state qualifying tournament, so they are through to.
They were dominant. They really
Yeah.
looked. Their sophomore quarterback looked really good, and they've got a receiver who transferred in from Midland Christian who's really
Could
strong.
one say the Rebs are back, baby?
Coach Hartman?
What's the
Have you
what's
gotten the text yet?
What's the back status on?
They've
on
been
the
back
Rebs?
for like 3 years. You can't text me that anymore, Coach Hartman.
Every
Y'all
week,
are really good.
every week he DMs me. He's
Yeah.
like, Rebs are back, baby. I'm like, we know.
Y'all are always
They've been back.
Y'all have been back, Coach.
When did
y'all
y'all leave?
Y'all are outstanding.
Out in Tyler Chapel Hill wins their own SQT. They
got
beat
rolled?
they beat Bullard
60
in
to
a big-
12.
yeah, in a big way. And then Carthage,
Oh, shocking, man! What
Wait, you're telling me Carthage, Southlake, and Westlake all qualified?
super weird.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But we did talk about this though, Pickle. Last week we were talking about this is the week that you're going to start seeing a lot of those blue bloods punch their ticket.
Yep.
Oh, and
that's-
there's more coming.
what it was.
Look at Melissa.
in Burnett.
Yeah.
In Burnett, Little River Academy.
The
another
Bumblebees.
Another team. to
The
keep an
Swole
eye
Bees.
on. The Swole Bees.
I need a
is through.
shirt. I need one of their shirts.
Oh, yeah.
As is-
Absolutely.
as is
Coach Hunt, hook it up,
As
please.
is China
Please.
Spring, they edge out Lime Passes in the state qualifying round. And then in Melissa,
Oh, here you go. Here's two terrible football teams
Yeah.
right here.
Awful.
you're never going to believe this, but Argyle and Pleasant Grove are going to go to College Station.
Yeah.
This is all
shocking.
fake news.
But
I
here's-
don't believe anything.
Here's
that
the
you're
funny
saying.
thing: the teams they beat in the state qualifying round were Salina and Sanger, who are also like seems like every single year they're going to state.
The
So
SQT in Salina's coming up, right? That's what you
June
said.
12th.
June
June
12th.
12th. Yeah.
I would bet they'll be there. And then down in Division 3 in Hamilton, Corsicana, Mildred, and Eastland are
There we go.
through.
Eastland's doing okay without Baron Morton apparently.
Very interesting.
Hamilton, elite courthouse, if you're wondering.
And they have Storms.
How would you?
They do.
How
There's a
would
Storms
you
in
know
Hamilton.
about the courthouse? This raises more questions than it answers.
You know where I have to drive directly through every time I head home to Atlanta? Hamilton.
Ellis County is an elite courthouse as well.
That sounds
Thank
like
you.
somebody who
We should rank.
Hamilton, Hyco,
Here
goes all the way
is an
down.
off-season project. Rank the courthouses.
Oh, see, what I would rather do, I'm big on water towers. this is a whole other thing
Oh.
I could get into, but small town water towers are awesome.
Luling has an impressive water tower. 'Cause
Yes.
it's like a watermelon.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thump.
Yeah.
The thump's a big deal. My aunt used to make us homemade dresses for the thump.
I want to see one of those. I want to see a homemade watermelon thump dress.
I could leave. Like, you guys seem like you got it. You guys are good.
There's so much just weird stuff about our great state. This is
That we could talk for hours. No, the elite water tower tour though is going like up to Colorado, like all through the little West Texas towns. My mom sends me pictures of water towers when she goes to new places.
that's a good bit.
Do you guys know how to party or what?
Trish knows how to party.
Trish, duh.
Those were headlines, and then whatever that was.